Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
Airbnb is a very big company today. Many people use it to find places to stay. But its journey to success is quite surprising. The first people who started Airbnb knew little about running a big business. Also, the idea they had was not new or special. Similar ways to find a place to stay already existed. What is more, in many cities, the way Airbnb worked was often against local laws. Even the founders themselves did not think their idea would really work for a long time. Despite all these challenges, Airbnb grew into a company worth billions of dollars. It became one of the most successful business stories of the digital age. Today, Airbnb is the largest provider of accommodation in the entire world. This fact is very strange because Airbnb does not own any real estate. It does not own any hotels or houses itself. So how did this company, which owns no property, become so incredibly successful and big? This is the main question we will explore in this story. We will see how a simple, strange idea grew into a global leader. 2. An idea for rent. Brian and Joe were in a difficult situation. They were unemployed and had no money. They could not pay their rent, and they were close to losing their apartment. Then they heard exciting news. A large design conference was coming to their city. Thousands of people would visit, and all the hotels would be full very quickly. This gave Brian and Joe an unusual idea. They had 3 airbeds in their apartment. What if they could rent out these airbeds to conference visitors? They thought they could also offer breakfast, creating a temporary airbed and breakfast service. This way, the visitors would have a place to stay, and Brian and Joe could earn some much-needed money. They quickly created a very simple website using a free template. They called their new service Airbed and Breakfast. Many people did not take their idea seriously at first. They thought it was strange. However, as the conference began, hotels became completely full, just as Brian and Joe had predicted. A few people, needing a place to sleep, decided to book a stay with them. The experience was surprisingly good. Brian and Joe showed their guests around the city, taking them to their favorite local restaurants. Everyone, including the guests and hosts, had a great time. From the 4-day conference, Brian and Joe made about $1,000. This was enough money to pay their overdue rent. This success gave them a moment of relief. They had initially thought Airbed and Breakfast was just a small, quick way to solve their rent problem. It was never meant to be a serious, long-term business. They still hoped to find a big and important business idea. But after some time, they had no new big ideas. Brian even spoke to his mother, who worried he was simply unemployed. So they thought again about their temporary airbed idea. It had been fun, and it worked well enough to solve their problem. Maybe this small, simple idea was more important than they first believed. They began to wonder if other people might also want to earn money by renting out spare airbeds or rooms in their apartments. This temporary solution could perhaps grow into something bigger after all. They decided it was worth exploring this unusual idea further. 3. Many hard days. Brian and Joe wanted to make their idea bigger. They asked their old roommate, Nathan, to join them. Nathan was a computer programmer who could build a better website. They wanted a site where people could rent out extra beds or rooms. They relaunched the website, calling it Airbed and Breakfast. They advertised it as a new way to find a place to stay when hotels were full. But most people did not like the idea. Many thought it was strange to let strangers stay in their private homes. At first, they had almost no customers. Only 2 people booked, and one was Brian himself. Then they heard about a big national political event. 75,000 people would come to the city for the Democratic National Convention, where Barack Obama was speaking. Hotels would be very busy. Brian, Joe, and Nathan decided to try again. They contacted many journalists and blogs to tell them about Airbed Breakfast. Some newspapers wrote about their quirky idea. Soon, many people visited their website. The traffic was so high that the website crashed. Their payment system, PayPal, even stopped working briefly. Hundreds of people listed rooms, and others booked them. The friends were excited. It seemed their idea could really work, but only for a short time. As soon as the convention ended, bookings stopped. They were back to having almost no customers. The friends needed a way to get people to use their service all the time, not just for big events. They also needed money. Brian learned about angel investors who give money to new companies for a share of the business. Brian met many investors, but the meetings did not go well. Most thought the idea was too risky and strange. They did not want to invest in a business where strangers stayed in other strangers' homes. One investor even left a meeting early. Everyone said no. 4. A box of cereal. Brian, Joe, and Nathan had no money. They were in a lot of debt. They felt desperate. Late at night, they thought of a new plan. Their airbed idea was not working. Maybe they could sell breakfast instead. Everyone needs to eat, they reasoned. They saw that a big presidential election was coming. This gave them an idea. They decided to create special breakfast cereals for the election. They called one cereal Obama O's and the other Captain McCain's. Brian found a friend from college who had a printing shop. This friend agreed to print 1,000 cereal boxes for free. He would get a part of the sales later. Next, Brian and Joe went to many supermarkets. They bought 1,000 boxes of the cheapest cereal they could find. Back in their kitchen, they worked hard. They folded the new designer boxes by hand. Then they glued them closed. Brian thought that other successful company founders did not have to do such strange work. He wondered if this was a bad sign. But the strange cereal idea worked very well. They sent some boxes to newspaper writers. The writers found the idea interesting and wrote about it. Soon, the cereals got national attention. Even CNN talked about them. People started to buy the boxes for high prices. They saw them as rare collector's items. Obama O's sold out in only 3 days. People even sold them online for hundreds of dollars. Brian and Joe made between $20,000 and $30,000 from the cereals. This was enough money to pay off all their credit card debts. People asked if they were now a cereal company. The truth was, they still had no customers for their main business, Air Bed and Breakfast. They were back to zero money, just without debt. They even had to eat Captain McCain's cereal for months because they had no money for other food. They knew they needed help. They applied to a company called Y Combinator. This company helps new businesses with money and advice. Brian and Joe had an interview, but it went badly. The interviewer asked why anyone would want to stay in a stranger's house. As they were leaving, Joe pulled out a box of Captain McCain cereal. He showed it to the interviewer and explained how they made them to get out of debt. The interviewer was surprised and impressed. He said, "You guys are like cockroaches. You just won't die." Soon after, Y Combinator called them. They decided to invest in their company. Brian was shocked. He later learned that the cereal story changed their minds. The investor said, "If you can convince people to pay $40 for cheap cereal, maybe you can convince people to sleep in other people's airbeds." This was a big moment. Other investors soon started to put money into Air Bed and Breakfast too. This was the start of something new and big. 5. Getting bigger. After receiving financial help from Y Combinator and other investors, Air Bed and Breakfast began to grow quickly. The founders realized they had been thinking too small. Their service was originally called Air Bed and Breakfast, and it came with strict rules. For instance, guests had to sleep on an air mattress, and the host was expected to provide breakfast. They decided to remove these old rules that limited their potential. The company's name was also shortened to simply Airbnb. This made the service much more flexible and appealing, leading to a rapid increase in interest from both hosts and guests. One significant challenge was that many users were not skilled at taking attractive photos of their properties. Poor quality pictures often resulted in fewer bookings. To fix this, Airbnb made a bold decision. They offered to send professional photographers to homes for free. These experts took high-quality pictures of the rooms and properties. While this was an expensive step for Airbnb, it proved to be a massive success. Bookings soared, jumping from 50 a day to 100 and then quickly to 1,000 bookings daily. The company was gaining strong momentum. People began to list a wide variety of places, moving beyond just spare rooms. Unique listings such as tree houses, castles, or even igloos became available. Travelers were excited by these new choices. Many had grown tired of the standardized experience offered by traditional hotels, where every room often looked the same, regardless of the country. They craved authentic local experiences. Travelers wanted to truly feel the culture of a destination and live like a local. Airbnb allowed them to do just that, sometimes interacting with the host who could offer personal recommendations about the city. Airbnb also invested in making its website highly user-friendly and trustworthy. They refined the design to be sleek and modern, and they developed a robust review system where both guests and hosts could rate each other, increasing confidence. The company further leveraged technology, using machine learning to recommend the most suitable listings to travelers based on their preferences. They also built a secure payment system, ensuring smooth transactions between hosts and guests without needing a third party. Airbnb's rapid expansion was also perfectly timed. It launched right after the 2008 economic recession. During this period, many people needed extra income and were willing to rent out spare space. At the same time, travelers were looking for more affordable accommodation. Airbnb effectively connected these two groups. A key advantage for Airbnb was that it did not own any real estate. This made it very easy and cost-effective to expand into new cities and countries around the world. The same platform could be used everywhere, leading to a global network effect and making Airbnb a globally popular service. 6. A bad story. EJ was a freelancer needing extra money. She decided to rent her apartment using Airbnb while she was away. When EJ returned home, her apartment was completely ruined. The guest had broken many things. They stole her passport, money, and jewelry. They also took her camera, laptop, and important photos. Many personal items were burned in the fireplace, and her furniture was damaged with bleach. EJ felt very sad and unsafe in her own home. She wrote about her terrible experience on her blog. EJ's story quickly became very popular. News websites shared it, and it was talked about widely. This was a disaster for Airbnb's public image. At the Airbnb office, the team did not know what to do. Some thought Airbnb should admit fault and help EJ. Others worried that admitting responsibility could cause future legal problems. Airbnb's lawyers told Brian Chesky, the CEO, to be very careful and deal with the matter privately. Initially, Airbnb was slow to react. The company released a short, general statement that said they were in contact with EJ. But EJ later said this was not entirely true. Public anger against Airbnb grew. Brian Chesky felt deeply stressed. He could not sleep, and his chest felt tight with worry. He knew he had to act. Brian decided to ignore his lawyer's advice. He sat at his computer and wrote a heartfelt public apology. In his letter, he openly admitted that Airbnb had let EJ down. He announced a new guarantee. Airbnb would protect hosts against damage with a $50,000 fund. This guarantee would also apply to EJ, ensuring she was fully reimbursed for her losses. Additionally, Brian promised better customer service. He announced a new 24-hour customer hotline and said the company would double its customer support team. These changes were expensive for Airbnb. However, it was a crucial moment. Airbnb chose to fully support its hosts, going beyond what was required. This big decision was vital for gaining back trust and helping Airbnb succeed in the long term. 7. Breaking the rules. As Airbnb became bigger, it started to have problems with laws in many cities. Renting out homes for a short time was often against the rules. Laws about rentals, building rules, and taxes were different everywhere. This meant Airbnb had to deal with many different rules in different places. In some places, Airbnb worked with city leaders to find solutions so they could operate legally. But in other cities, it was very hard. For example, in New York, the powerful hotel companies and their workers did not like Airbnb. They started a big fight against it. In 2016, the city of Berlin made it illegal to rent whole homes for short times. People were even asked to report others who broke these rules. This caused a lot of anger and division. A main reason for this problem was that many people felt Airbnb took away housing for local residents. They believed it made rent prices go up. This happened because the people who made the most money from Airbnb were often not just locals making a little extra cash. Instead, they were landlords with many properties. These landlords could earn much more money by renting homes for a few nights on Airbnb than by renting to one person for a long time. This meant fewer homes were available for local people to rent for living. Data showed that in the United States, almost half of all Airbnb listings came from hosts who had at least 2 other listings. Some top hosts had hundreds of listings, and one person earned millions of dollars through the platform. As the company grew, these conflicts also grew. Some building owners started to forbid their tenants from using Airbnb. They sometimes put cameras in buildings to catch people. So, some Airbnb hosts began telling their guests to pretend they were relatives visiting, not paying guests. This was a constant battle. In 2016, Airbnb even sued New York City and San Francisco because of new laws that brought big fines for rule breaking. Brian Chesky, the leader of Airbnb, knew these legal fights were difficult. But he believed that for Airbnb to keep growing, it needed to try new and exciting ideas. He did not want the company to lose its ability to be creative. So, Airbnb decided to offer something completely new. It was called experiences. With experiences, local people could offer different activities and tours to guests. For example, a visitor could learn to meditate with a Buddhist monk, have tea on an alpaca farm, go on a spooky late-night walking tour, or learn the art of firebending. The main idea was to give visitors real, authentic travel experiences from people who lived there. After this new feature launched, some hosts started to earn more money from these experiences than from renting out their rooms. Brian hoped that in the future, Airbnb would help people with every part of their trip, like booking meals or tickets, all from one easy-to-use app. 8. A new world. The year 2020 brought a very big problem for the world. A new virus called COVID-19 stopped people from traveling. Airlines canceled flights, and hotels closed their doors. Overnight, Airbnb's business suffered greatly. Bookings in Europe alone dropped by 80%. The company faced a huge challenge. Many thought this global pandemic could end Airbnb. Guests began to cancel their bookings. They asked for their money back, totaling over $1 billion in requested refunds. This created a difficult situation. Airbnb had to choose between its guests and its hosts. Many hosts did not want to give money back as they needed it. After much thought, Airbnb decided to side with the guests. They allowed people to cancel their trips and get refunds. This decision made many hosts feel angry and betrayed. To help, Airbnb created a $250 million fund for hosts to cover some of their lost money. With international travel almost impossible, Airbnb had to change its plan quickly. The company shifted its focus to nearby travel. Many people were tired of staying in their own homes during lockdowns. They wanted a short break, a change of scenery, not far from where they lived. Airbnb saw a new chance here. They started to highlight local listings for people wanting to explore closer to home. This change helped Airbnb find new bookings, showing their ability to adapt. The story of Airbnb is truly amazing. It began with two friends who needed to pay their rent. From a few airbeds in a living room, it grew into a worldwide company that changed how people travel. Brian Chesky, one of the founders, was even named an ambassador of global entrepreneurship by President Obama. This was a special moment, especially since Brian once saved the company by selling Obama-themed cereal. Despite its success, Airbnb still faces big challenges. Some people still wonder if the company can make a regular profit in the long term. Airbnb has gone through many hard times, destroyed homes, legal fights, and a global pandemic. It has always found a way to survive. The journey from a small, strange idea to a global travel giant is remarkable. What do you think is the biggest lesson from Airbnb's journey?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.